Dog sprints toward baby on highway. What happens when the truck arrives, leaves everyone in tears. Max's sudden growl cut through the morning silence, startling Sarah Collins from her routine surveillance of I-85. In 6 years of partnership, she'd never heard that particular sound from her Belgian Malinois, something between a warning and distress. His ears pricked forward, body tensing against the reinforced tactical harness. "What is it, boy?" Sarah's hand instinctively moved to her holster, scanning the highway through the early morning haze. Traffic flowed steadily, the usual mix of commuters and truckers making their way through Atlanta's heart. Nothing seemed out of place, yet Max's behavior told a different story. The K9 officer had learned to trust her partner's instincts. Max had led them to hidden drug caches at Hartsfield-Jackson that even electronic sensors missed, found survivors in collapsed buildings when hope seemed lost, and tracked suspects through impossible conditions. But this was different. His muscles trembled beneath the black and tan fur, a sure sign of extreme agitation. A quick check of the cruiser's radar showed a tractor-trailer approaching in the fast lane, doing 75 in a 65 zone. Sarah reached for the radio to call it in, but Max's next action made her blood run cold. With explosive force, he lunged against his lead, something he'd never done in thousands of hours of service. The reinforced material, tested to withstand hundreds of pounds of force, snapped like thread. "Max, stand down!" Sarah's command died in her throat as she spotted what her partner had already sensed. A small figure, barely visible against the concrete barrier, crawling toward the highway's edge. A baby, dressed in nothing but a thin onesie, was seconds away from entering the flowing traffic. The next moments stretched into eternity. Sarah slammed her emergency lights on and grabbed the radio. "Dispatch, Officer Collins, K9 unit, baby on the highway, I-85 northbound, mile marker 248. I need all lanes blocked now." But she knew help would come too late. The truck was closing in, its driver focused on passing a slower vehicle, unaware of the unfolding tragedy. Max was already halfway to the child, his powerful legs eating up the distance with precision that came from countless hours of training. But the truck was closer, beginning its pass of a blue sedan, cutting off Max's direct path. Sarah's heart stopped as she calculated the impossible geometry of rescue. Without hesitation, Max adjusted his trajectory, leaping over the concrete barrier and using it as a springboard to change direction. The maneuver cost precious seconds, but gave him a clear line to the baby. The truck's horn blasted. The driver had finally spotted the danger, but was carrying too much momentum to stop. Sarah was running now, her boots pounding against the asphalt, knowing she couldn't reach them in time. She watched as Max made the final approach, his training warring with the need for speed. A wrong move could injure the child as badly as the oncoming truck. With gentle precision that belied his desperate rush, Max clamped his jaws on the baby's onesie, lifting the child clear of the ground. In one fluid motion, he spun away from the highway, his body curling protectively around his precious cargo as the truck roared past, its wake whipping their fur and clothes. Sarah reached them seconds later, her hands shaking as she checked the baby. The child, a boy she now saw, couldn't be more than 10 months old. He was startled but unhurt, looking up at Max with more curiosity than fear. The K9's posture remained protective, his body positioned between the baby and the highway. "Good boy, Max, good boy," Sarah whispered, her voice thick with emotion. But her partner's attention stayed fixed on the child, his nose working overtime. She'd seen that behavior before, when Max detected something wrong at a scene. Looking closer, she noticed marks on the baby's arms, too uniform to be accidental. A faded hospital bracelet hung loosely around his tiny wrist, the text too worn to read. Traffic was slowing now as her backup arrived, red and blue lights painting the morning in emergency colors. Sarah's trained eye caught more details. The onesie was expensive but dirty, suggesting a sharp contrast between the child's origin and recent care. The baby showed no signs of prolonged exposure, meaning he couldn't have crawled far. "Officer Collins?" A young patrolman jogged up. "Child Services is en route." Any ID on the kid? Not yet. Sarah's mind was already racing through possibilities, none of them good. Run this area for any reported missing children, last 24 hours, and get me everything you can on infant admissions from nearby hospitals. Her gut told her this was just the beginning. Max hadn't moved from his protective stance, his eyes tracking every vehicle that passed. Sarah recognized that look. He wasn't done. Something about this child had triggered her partner's deepest instincts, and she'd learned that Max's instincts usually meant trouble. As if confirming her thoughts, the baby reached for Max, tiny fingers grabbing at his tactical vest. In the distance, Sarah spotted a white van making an illegal U-turn through the emergency vehicle gap, accelerating away from the scene. She memorized what she could. No plates visible, rental company logo on the side, a dent in the rear door. Max. She didn't need to say more. Her partner's ears swiveled toward the retreating van, his posture shifting from protective to predatory. Whatever was going on, they'd just stumbled into something big. Sarah could feel it in her bones, see it in Max's rigid stance. She pulled out her phone, snapping photos of the hospital bracelet and marks before child services arrived. Experience told her they were running against the clock. Someone had gone to a lot of trouble to transport this baby, and they wouldn't stop because of one failed attempt. As she worked, Max kept dividing his attention between the child and the direction the van had fled. 6 years of partnership had taught Sarah to read him like a book. This wasn't over. In fact, she realized, as she studied the worn hospital bracelet, this was just the beginning of what promised to be their most challenging case yet. The morning sun finally broke through Atlanta's haze, illuminating the highway scene in harsh clarity. A baby who shouldn't be here, marks that shouldn't exist, and a mystery that wouldn't wait. Sarah met Max's intent gaze and nodded. Whatever they'd stumbled into, they would see it through. They always did. The harsh fluorescent lights of Atlanta Police Department's K-9 unit couldn't mask the tension in Sarah's office. Max paced restlessly, his nails clicking against the linoleum floor as Sarah stared at the hospital bracelet photo on her monitor. 3 hours of calls had yielded nothing. No matching birth records, no reported missing infants, no answers. Collins. Lieutenant Rivera's voice cut through her concentration. Child Services got the DNA rush order. Boys about 8 months old, healthy aside from mild dehydration. No matches in any missing persons database. Sarah nodded, watching Max. He'd refused his post-duty rest, something he did only when a case wasn't finished. The van? Rental company logo was a fake. Traffic cams lost it near the industrial district. Rivera hesitated. Look, you both did good work today, but maybe... Max's head snapped up, a low growl rumbling in his chest. Sarah recognized the sound, the same one from the highway. Before she could react, he was at the door, every muscle tense. He's got something. Sarah grabbed her tactical vest. 6 years of partnership had taught her not to question these moments. We're following it. The summer heat hit them like a wall as they exited the precinct. Max took point immediately, leading them past the parking lot to where Sarah had stored the baby's onesie in an evidence bag. He sniffed once, then pulled strongly northeast toward the industrial district. Sarah radioed for backup as they moved, her free hand resting on Max's tactical harness. The sun was setting, painting Atlanta's skyline in shades of orange and shadow. Perfect timing for whatever was about to happen. 20 minutes later, they turned down a service road lined with abandoned warehouses. Max's pace quickened, his training warring with urgency. Sarah heard engines ahead, multiple vehicles running idle. APD! Identify yourself! Her voice echoed off concrete walls as they rounded the corner. 3 men froze beside a white van, its rear doors open. Inside, Sarah glimpsed stacked medical supplies and what looked like hospital documentation. The largest man recovered first, reaching behind his back. "Max, take him!" The Belgian Malinois launched forward as Sarah drew her weapon. The suspect's gun clattered away as Max's precise attack took him down. The other 2 men fled toward a side alley. "Police! Stop right!" Sarah's order cut off as bullets sparked off the wall beside her. A fourth man had emerged from the shadows, forcing her to dive behind a dumpster. Max maintained his hold on the first suspect, torn between his training and protecting his partner. "Stay!" Sarah commanded, knowing Max would keep the main suspect contained. She pivoted around the dumpster's edge, catching the shooter's movement in the fading light. 2 quick shots sent him scrambling for cover. Sirens wailed in the distance, backup finally arriving. The shooter must have heard them too. He sprayed another burst of fire before running, disappearing into the maze of buildings. Sarah maintained position until the first units arrived, then moved to check the van with Max close behind. The interior confirmed her worst fears. Medical records, birth certificates, hospital bracelets identical to the one they'd found this morning. This wasn't just about one baby. "Officer Collins?" A young CSI technician approached cautiously, eyeing Max. "We found something you should see." In the van's front seat, partially hidden under papers, sat a tablet. Its screen showed a spreadsheet with dates, names, and prices. Sarah's stomach turned as she read the entries. Each row represented a child, complete with physical descriptions and planned delivery dates. "Max," she kept her voice steady despite the rage building inside her. "Find me more." Her partner worked the scene methodically, his nose leading them to a dropped phone and a laptop thrown into a drainage ditch. But his behavior changed when they reached the warehouse's side door, the same alertness she'd seen on the highway. SWAT cleared the building before letting them enter. The interior was mostly empty, except for a small office in the back. There, Max's agitation reached its peak. Sarah understood why as soon as she saw the room. A makeshift nursery had been set up, complete with cribs and changing tables. Everything was professional grade, hospital quality, and recently used. "They're moving them through here," she said, more to herself than the evidence techs. "But where are they taking them?" Max whined, pawing at a filing cabinet. Inside, Sarah found more records, names of doctors, nurses, social workers, people who should have been protecting children, not trafficking them. Her phone buzzed. Lieutenant Rivera's message was brief. "Suspect talking, says he's just transport, claims he never saw the buyers." Sarah knelt beside Max, scratching behind his ears. "What do you think, boy? Ready to hunt down some buyers?" His tail wagged once, but his posture remained alert. Sarah had seen this before. Max sensed they were only scratching the surface. The nursery, the medical records, the hospital connections. This was organized, professional, the kind of operation that had protection from people with power. As if confirming her thoughts, her phone buzzed again. This time, the message made her blood run cold. "Stand down, Collins. Case is being transferred to FBI Trafficking Task Force." Max growled softly, picking up on her tension. Sarah stared at the message, then at the nursery around them. She'd been a cop long enough to know what transferred often meant. Cases disappeared into bureaucratic holes. Evidence got lost. Leads went cold. "Don't worry, partner." She pressed her forehead against Max's, drawing strength from his solid presence. "We're not letting this one go." Outside, the industrial district had fallen into darkness, broken only by the flash of police lights. Somewhere in Atlanta, more babies were being bought and sold like cargo. Sarah watched Max nose around the nursery one last time, his determination matching her own. They had names now, leads to follow. Most importantly, they had each other. The night wasn't over, and neither was their hunt. Sarah's apartment felt smaller than usual at 3 a.m., the wall of case photos growing by the hour. Max lay at her feet, alert despite the late hour, watching as she pinned another hospital record to the board. 6 years ago, they'd sat in this same spot, working their first case together. Now, like then, sleep wasn't an option. The memory hit her with unexpected force. Max, just 2 years old, still learning to trust her after his original handler's death. Their first major case had come just 3 weeks into their partnership. A 4-year-old girl taken from Atlanta Children's Hospital. Everyone said they weren't ready, that Max needed more time to bond with his new handler. Everyone was wrong. Sarah's phone buzzed, pulling her back to the present. A text from her informant in hospital records. "Found something. Methodist Hospital loading dock, 1 hour. What do you think, partner? Max's ears perked up at her voice. Ready for a little unauthorized investigation. His tail thumped against the floor. Their own private signal developed over years of late-night stakeouts. Sarah checked her backup weapon, then grabbed her jacket. If the FBI was taking over the case, they needed leverage first. The drive to Methodist Hospital stirred more memories. She couldn't help but remember Tommy, her little brother, taken 25 years ago. The official report said he wandered away from their backyard. 8-year-old Sarah knew better. She'd seen the white van, caught a glimpse of the man in scrubs. No one believed her. Max's sudden growl snapped her focus back. A figure darted between parked cars ahead, too fast, too furtive. Sarah killed the headlights, instinctively reaching to check Max's tactical vest. The hospital's loading dock loomed ahead, illuminated by harsh security lights. "Stay close," she whispered, unnecessary words for a partner who could read her every movement. They approached from the shadows, years of training evident in their synchronized steps. A crash echoed from inside, followed by muffled cursing. Sarah drew her weapon, motioning Max to the door's far side. One quiet command, "Ready," and they moved. The loading dock was a maze of medical supplies and equipment. Sarah's informant, Joey, stood with his hands raised, facing 2 men in security uniforms. Except Sarah knew Methodists' security uniforms, and these weren't right. "Police, don't move!" The fake guards spun, reaching for weapons. Max was faster. He launched at the nearest threat while Sarah engaged the second. The fight was brief, decisive. 6 years of partnership allowing them to move as one unit, covering each other's blind spots. "Joey!" Sarah kept her weapon trained on the subdued suspects. "Talk fast!" The records clerk emerged, trembling from behind a stack of boxes. "They've been falsifying birth records. Twins, triplets, adding extra babies to legitimate births. Been going on for years." Sarah's blood ran cold. "How many?" "Dozens, maybe hundreds." Joey handed her a thumb drive. "Everything's here. Birth certificates, medical staff involved, payment records." A shot cracked through the loading dock. Joey stumbled, red spreading across his chest. Max's warning bark came too late. More figures emerged from the shadows, armed and professional. Sarah dragged Joey behind cover, returning fire. "Max, protect!" Her partner took up position, his growl a clear warning to anyone approaching. In the distance, sirens wailed. "Stay with me, Joey!" Sarah pressed against the wound, but his eyes were already glazing. "There's more," he gasped. "The records, 25 years, same group." His last breath carried the words that shook her world. "Your brother wasn't the first." The shooting intensified. Sarah felt Max press against her leg, grounding her, protecting her as he had for 6 years. Tommy's face flashed in her mind, followed by the baby from the highway. Same group, same methods, a generation of stolen children. Her radio crackled. "Collins, FBI tactical team en route. Stand down immediately." Max's ears flattened. He felt her tension, her rage. Sarah looked at Joey's body, at the thumb drive in her hand. Stand down? Like they'd been told to stand down 25 years ago? "Change of plans, partner." She secured the drive in her vest. "We're doing this our way." The loading dock's back exit would take them to the service road. They'd need to move fast, stay ahead of the FBI. But first, Sarah reached into her pocket, pulling out the worn photo she always carried. Tommy, age 4, laughing on a swing set. She tucked it into Joey's pocket. "Thank you," she whispered. Max nudged her hand, a gentle reminder. Time to move. Sarah counted the shadows moving outside. At least 6 hostiles between them and escape. Bad odds for a normal team. But Sarah and Max had never been normal. Their first case proved that, finding the missing girl when everyone else had given up. Every case since had strengthened their bond, taught them to trust each other's instincts. Sarah checked her ammunition, then met Max's steady gaze. His posture told her everything. Ready, focused, committed. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. "Find them," she whispered, the same words she'd used on their first case. "Find them all." Max's muscles tensed, ready to move. Outside, vehicles screeched to a halt. FBI arriving, trying to shut them down, but they were too late. Sarah and Max had picked up a scent stronger than any criminal's trail. They'd caught the scent of justice. Sarah released the safety on her weapon. Ahead lay answers she'd waited 25 years to find. Somewhere in Atlanta, children were being stolen, lives destroyed. The same operation that took Tommy was still running, still hurting families. Time to end it. "Ready?" she asked her partner. Max's quick bark was all the answer she needed. They moved as one toward the exit, toward the truth, toward whatever destiny awaited them in Atlanta's dangerous night. The hunt was on. Dawn painted Atlanta's skyline in shades of grey as Sarah hunched over her laptop in a forgotten maintenance garage. Max stood guard at the door, his posture alert despite hours without rest. The thumb drive's contents had revealed more than Sarah could have imagined. Decades of records, hundreds of children, millions in transactions. Her burner phone buzzed. Lieutenant Rivera's text was brief. "FBI looking everywhere. Whatever you found, they want it bad." Sarah's fingers flew over the keyboard, copying files, cross-referencing dates. Max's sudden shift in position made her pause. "What is it, boy?" His ears tilted toward the street, vehicles approaching, still distant but getting closer. They'd stayed in one place too long. Sarah quickly encrypted the last files and pocketed the drive. Time to move. They slipped out the back just as black SUVs rounded the corner. Max led them through a maze of alleys, his training in urban evasion proving invaluable. Sarah's mind raced as they moved. The hospital records showed a pattern: births registered to wealthy foreign couples, extra babies added to multiple births, corrupt staff across 3 hospitals. But something else nagged at her. A name that kept appearing in the records: Dr. Elizabeth Chen, head of obstetrics at Atlanta General. Her signature: authorized transfers, approved unusual birth registrations. And 25 years ago, she'd been a resident at the hospital where Tommy disappeared. "Collins!" a voice called from behind them. Sarah spun, weapon raised, but Max didn't react. He recognized the scent. Detective James Murphy emerged from the shadows, hands raised. "Easy. I'm not here to take you in." Sarah kept her gun steady. Murphy had been her father's partner, one of the few who believed her about Tommy's kidnapping. "Prove it." The van had a butterfly decal on the back window. "Yellow and purple." Murphy's voice was soft. "You told me that detail 20 times, but it never made it into the official report." Max relaxed slightly, taking his cue from Sarah's lowered weapon. "Why are you here, James?" "Because I never stopped looking." He handed her a file. "Dr. Chen. She's planning something big tonight." Sarah flipped through the pages. Shipping manifests, private flight plans, medical supply orders. They're moving their whole operation. FBI's been compromised. Someone's tipping them off. Murphy checked his watch. "You've got maybe 6 hours before they transport another group of infants. After that, they're gone. New identities, new locations." Sarah felt the weight of the thumb drive in her pocket. Hard evidence of decades of trafficking, enough to bring down the entire network. She could take it to the media, expose everything, the safe play. Max's whine drew her attention. He poured at Murphy's file, at a photo of the private airfield. Sarah knew that behavior. He was ready to hunt. Murphy took the copied files and disappeared into the shadows, leaving Sarah and Max to face Atlanta General's modern glass facade. Sarah's earpiece crackled. Murphy had gotten her access to the hospital's security frequencies. Guards were concentrated around the maternity ward and administrative offices. But there was another way in. The service entrance lock yielded to Sarah's borrowed keycard. They moved silently through utility corridors, Max's nose leading them past patrol routes. 4 floors up, they found what they were looking for: the hospital's real records room. Dr. Chen's office light was on, voices drifting through the door. Sarah pressed against the wall, listening. "The buyers are getting nervous." A man's voice, unfamiliar. "After that incident on the highway, everything proceeds as planned." Dr. Chen's voice was cold, professional. "The merchandise is prepped for transport. By morning, we'll be gone." Sarah's hand tightened on her weapon. Merchandise. children reduced to inventory. Beside her, Max trembled with controlled fury. He might not understand the words, but he felt her anger. A phone rang inside the office. "What?" Dr. Chen's voice sharpened. "Who leaked? Find Collins! Now!" "Time's up." Sarah met Max's gaze and nodded. No more stealth, no more waiting. They burst through the door together, years of training creating a seamless unit. Max took down Chen's security guard, while Sarah disarmed the second man. Dr. Chen reached for a drawer, but froze at Sarah's command. "Don't." The doctor's smile was eerily calm. "Officer Collins, or should I say little Sarah, you've grown so much since that day in your backyard." The words hit like physical blows. Sarah's gun never wavered. "Where are they taking the babies? You can't stop this. We provide a valuable service. Childless couples, unwanted infants." Chen's hand inched toward her desk phone. Max's growl stopped her cold. Sarah felt a deadly calm settle over her. "The children, now! Or what? You'll shoot me? Murder a respected doctor?" Chen's smile widened. "In 6 hours the babies will be gone. New lives, new families, like your brother. He's happy, you know. Never even remembered his old life." Sarah's finger tightened on the trigger. 25 years of pain, of searching, of wondering. One squeeze and... Max pressed against her leg, grounding her. His presence called her back, reminded her who she was, who they were. "You're right." Sarah lowered her weapon slightly. "I won't shoot you." Chen relaxed. "Smart girl." "Max, take her." The Belgian Malinois launched forward, pristine training on display. Chen barely had time to scream before she was pinned, Max's teeth mere inches from her throat. The children. Last chance. Fear finally cracked the doctor's professional mask. "Storage unit, airport, private hangar." Sarah's radio crackled. "APD units, shots fired at Atlanta General, FBI en route." Time was running out. Sarah zip-tied Chen, knowing hospital security would find her soon. The thumb drive would ensure justice, but the children, ready for a race partner. Max's posture was pure determination. Sarah checked her watch. 4 hours until the transport. Somewhere in Atlanta, more babies waited in darkness. But this time they had a guardian angel, and his name was Max. The storage facility loomed ahead, a sprawling maze of metal units baking in the Georgia heat. Sarah killed the engine of Murphy's borrowed car, studying the security cameras. Max's breathing was steady beside her, his focus absolute. "Unit 247, she whispered, reviewing Chen's confession. "According to the doctor, the babies would be moved from here to the private hangar in 2 hours. Just enough time." Movement caught her eye. Armed guards patrolling in civilian clothes, trying too hard to look casual. Sarah counted 4 visible, meaning at least twice that many hidden. Professional security, not just hired muscle. Max's ears suddenly pricked forward. Sarah followed his gaze to a white van pulling up to the far end, the same model from the highway. Her hand instinctively went to the thumb drive in her pocket. All the evidence they needed was here, but the children, "We could wait for backup," she told Max, knowing his response before he gave it. One soft whine. Disagreement. They'd come too far to stop now. Sarah checked her weapon and Max's tactical vest one last time. "Find them, boy. Find them all." They moved through the facility's blind spots, Sarah thanking every K9 training exercise that had drilled stealth into them. Max's nose led them past empty units, his body language changing as they approached their target. Close now. A guard rounded the corner. Before he could shout, Max was on him, taking him down silently. Sarah secured him with zip ties, then pressed forward. Unit 247 was just ahead, its heavy padlock suggesting something valuable inside. The lock yielded to Sarah's picks, another skill from those long-ago training days. She eased the door up slowly, weapon ready. The sight inside froze her blood. 6 medical-grade incubators hummed softly, each containing a sleeping infant. Monitors blinked, IVs dripped, everything pristine and professional. A nursery designed for transport. Max's growl was her only warning. Sarah spun as shadows filled the doorway. 3 men, weapons raised. Officer Collins. The central figure stepped forward, his accent crisp and European. Dr. Chen warned us you might interfere, though I must admit I expected more backup. Sarah kept her gun steady, positioning herself between the men and the babies. You're done, all of you. Done? The man smiled. My dear, we're merely relocating. The demand for healthy infants among wealthy families never decreases. Surely you understand, providing better lives, better opportunities. Better lives? Sarah's voice cracked with rage. You steal children, destroy families. My brother... Ah, yes, young Thomas. The man's smile widened. Such a successful adoption. His new family was most generous, as were all our clients. Max's muscles bunched, ready to spring. Sarah felt the same fury coursing through her veins. One word, and her partner would attack, but against 3 armed men. The man seemed to read her thoughts. The dog is impressive, but even he can't stop bullets. Step aside, Officer Collins. These children have futures waiting. Wealthy families, privileged lives. They have families already. Sarah's mind raced through options. The thumb drive felt heavy in her pocket. Evidence that could destroy their entire network. Maybe if she offered it. A baby's cry pierced the tension. One of the infants had woken. Tiny fists waving at the strange voices. The sound hit Sarah like a physical blow. Just like Tommy all those years ago, the man raised his weapon. Last chance, officer. The dog first, then... Several things happened at once. Max exploded forward, faster than Sarah had ever seen him move. She dove for cover as gunfire erupted, rolling behind an incubator. Through the chaos, she heard more footsteps approaching, reinforcements coming. Max, protect! The command was unnecessary. Her partner had already positioned himself between the gunman and the babies, his body a furious shield of muscle and devotion. Sarah caught movement in her peripheral vision. More men entering from the back of the unit. They were surrounded, outgunned, with 6 tiny lives depending on them. Time slowed. Sarah saw Max tense, saw the European's finger tightening on the trigger. In that moment she knew what Tommy must have felt, the terror, the helplessness. But Tommy had been alone. These children had guardians. Sarah's decision took less than a heartbeat. She reached into her pocket, grabbed the thumb drive, and threw it hard at the overhead light. Darkness exploded through the unit, followed by Max's attack snarl. Years of training took over. Sarah fired at muzzle flashes. Max's movements synchronized perfectly with hers. Together, they were more than officer and K9. They were justice, vengeance, protection. The fight was brutal and brief. When backup finally arrived, led by Murphy, they found Sarah and Max standing guard over 6 crying infants and 9 subdued traffickers. The European leader lay pinned beneath Max's weight, his expensive suit torn, his smile finally gone. Officer Collins! Murphy's voice carried over the chaos. FBI's 3 minutes out. Real FBI this time. Sarah nodded, checking each baby while Max maintained his hold. 6 tiny lives, 6 families about to be reunited. But something wasn't finished. She knelt beside the European, meeting his eyes. Where is he? Who? My brother, Thomas Collins. Tell me. Fear finally cracked his professional demeanor. Boston. St. Catherine's Prep. Names Michael Kent now. Sarah absorbed the information as red and blue lights began flashing outside. 25 years of searching, of wondering. Now she knew. But first, these children needed her. These families needed closure. Murphy! She raised her voice over the approaching sirens. Get child services here, real ones this time, and contact Boston PD. Max's tail wagged once, his eyes never leaving their prisoner. Sarah scratched his ears, her heart full of pride and love for her partner. They'd done it. They'd really done it. The nightmare was ending, not just for these 6 babies, but for every child this organization had ever stolen. The evidence was secure, the network exposed, the criminals caught. And somewhere in Boston, a young man named Michael Kent was about to learn his true history. But that was tomorrow's mission. Tonight belonged to 6 reunions, 6 families made whole again. Tonight belonged to justice. 1 month later, Sarah stood before the Atlanta Police Department's press room, Max at perfect attention by her side. Camera flashes sparkled off their newly awarded medals as Chief Thompson approached the podium. Today marks the end of one of the largest child trafficking investigations in Georgia's history. Thanks to the extraordinary work of Officer Sarah Collins and her K-9 partner Max, 47 children have been reunited with their biological families. The criminal network, spanning 3 decades and 6 countries, has been completely dismantled. Sarah's hand rested on Max's head, drawing strength from his solid presence. In the front row, she spotted familiar faces, parents clutching recovered babies, tears streaming down their faces. The infant from the highway, now known as Noah, slept peacefully in his mother's arms. Furthermore, Thompson continued, the evidence recovered has led to the arrest of 32 individuals, including doctors, nurses, and social workers involved in the trafficking ring. Dr. Elizabeth Chen and her associates are facing multiple life sentences. The chief's words faded as Sarah's mind drifted to another reunion just days ago. A classroom in Boston, a young teacher named Michael Kent, her brother Tommy, though he hadn't known it then. The DNA test confirmed everything. 25 years of searching ended with a simple hello. Max's gentle nudge brought her back to the present. Her partner had always known when she needed grounding. Now he reminded her that they had one last duty to perform. Officer Collins? Chief Thompson gestured her forward. Would you like to say a few words? Sarah approached the podium, Max moving in perfect step beside her. The room fell silent, waiting. 30 years ago, a little boy was taken from his backyard in Atlanta. His 8-year-old sister saw it happen, but no one believed her. That girl grew up to become a police officer, determined to prevent other families from experiencing the same pain. She felt Max press against her leg, offering silent support. Today, that boy, my brother Tommy, is reunited with his family. But this case was never just about him. It was about every child stolen from loving parents, every family torn apart by greed, every moment of joy turned to decades of grief. Sarah gazed at the assembled families, seeing hope where there had been despair. This victory belongs to many people, to Detective Murphy, who never stopped believing, to the real FBI agents who helped coordinate across state lines, to every officer who worked tirelessly to bring these children home. Her hand found Max's ear, scratching his favorite spot. But most of all, it belongs to a Belgian Malinois who refused to ignore a baby in danger, who followed his instincts when humans would have given up, who proved that sometimes the greatest heroes walk on 4 legs. Max's tail wagged once, maintaining his professional demeanor despite the praise. To the families here today, your children are home. To those still searching, don't lose hope. And to the traffickers who think they can prey on the innocent, Sarah's voice hardened. We will find you. That's a promise. The room erupted in applause. Sarah stepped back, accepting handshakes and hugs from grateful parents. Max received his share of attention too, tolerating the affection with dignified patience. Hours later, they sat in their favorite spot, the quiet corner of Atlanta's K-9 training field where they'd first met. Sarah held a worn photograph, Tommy at 4, laughing on his swing set. Beside it, a new picture showed a family reunited. Sarah, Tommy, their parents, and of course, Max. You know what's funny, partner? Sarah spoke softly to her companion. All those years searching for Tommy, I thought finding him would be the end of the story. But it's really just the beginning. Max's ears perked up, reading her tone. Murphy says there are other cases, other networks, children still waiting to be found. She turned to face her partner. What do you think? Ready for more adventures? His response was immediate, a firm paw on her knee, eyes locked with hers. Ready, always ready. Sarah smiled, tucking the photos away. The sun was setting over Atlanta, painting the sky in shades of promise. Tomorrow would bring new cases, new challenges, new chances to protect the innocent. But that was tomorrow. Tonight was for celebration, for healing, for the simple joy of justice served. "Come on, boy." Sarah stood, brushing grass from her uniform. "Let's go home." Max fell into step beside her, their shadows merging in the fading light. They moved as one unit, one team, one unshakable force for good. Behind them, the training field lay quiet, but somewhere in the city, a child needed help. A family needed hope, a wrong needed righting. And when that call came, they would be ready, because that's what heroes do, even the ones with 4 legs and a heart of gold.